On this LensVid Talk, a bunch of new cameras, Sony's multi-camera app, and Apple joins forces with Blackmagic.
Hello everybody. Hello Lou.
Hey there.
And today we're doing LensVid Talk number 24. So this is a new LensVid Talk. This was recorded quite a few weeks after the previous one, and today we're recording 3 of them. So today is the 16th?
Oh, I've lost track.
Yeah, the middle of August. So this is recorded in the middle of August, and both the next ones, so 25 and 26, are also going to be recorded at this time period, because the one after that is probably going to be around the time that we should be in IBC. So that's the schedule for the next few weeks. So let's start with some topics, and I want to start as usual with some reviews that we have done recently. The first one is something that you have done, which is the Ulanzi VideoFast heavy-duty tripod. So you reviewed that one. We're actually using it right now to record the center view, the wide shot.
Angle.
Yeah, the wide angle of both of us. It's working pretty well, I think. What were your impressions out of this?
Well, it definitely suits its name. I think the takeaway for me was that it is really good for fast-moving subjects, because the amount of resistance in the panning especially, but also in the tilt, all of the modes, all of the levels that you might adjust to are for pretty fast movement. You cannot do really slow panning, which is the kind of panning that I would like to do maybe on a landscape. But when I was following fast-moving subjects, it worked really well.
I think you took it to the beach and shot some
surfing.
surfers, yeah.
Yep.
So that's and it worked fine for that.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And you're talking, I think, specifically about the head. It's a kit.
Yeah. Right. The head, and it's got, what was it, 6? Yeah, 6 different levels of resistance in both the pan and the tilt, which is pretty uncommon at that price point. It's becoming more common now, just lately, I'm noticing.
But is there a lot of difference between them?
That's the thing. Not really. Not a lot.
So they can make like 20, but...
Right. It's kind of like the 21 speeds on my bike. Like 10 of them I don't usually use. But if they could make them further apart, more different, that would be more useful, I think.
We're going to talk to them in IBC very soon, so maybe that will work. So that's one. I can just mention that the legs, they're fine, but if you compare them, we have some, they're, I would say, fairly regular, modern style, because they open with just one flip.
Yeah.
The entire legs. So they're very similar to some of the Manfrotto ones that we tested. I think they're called fast tripods or something like that.
Right.
The Manfrotto one that we tested. The Manfrotto are much beefier ones, but they're also more expensive. So I guess in this respect, you get what you pay. It's fine, but
wasn't the main issue with this the clasp? I didn't notice it so much, but you said that it was difficult to
lock
the legs in position, and then once you set it, and I tried to adjust that, because there is something to adjust there, but I don't think it adjusts that. It adjusts something else.
It does. You have to play with it. It's kind of strange. I agree. The mechanism for adjusting
the mechanism is annoying, but I think the mechanism actually only affects how the parts of the leg are held, whether they're sliding out or not. I don't think it affects the clasp, how difficult it is to hold the clasp down, or how securely that clasp.
I understand what you're saying. I'm not sure. Again, another question that we'll have to refer to.
Well, when I adjusted that piece, it was so sensitive, it was very difficult to tell what it was adjusting. So that's part of the issue.
Yeah. No, it's a strange mechanism, but yeah. So anyway, but the legs itself, other than that, they're fine. They're just not as robust as something like my Manfrotto. But if you need, like, if it's mostly like a stationary, like we have it in here, it's perfectly fine. Yeah. Okay. So the second review that we recently did is the Sunwayfoto LB-90L leveling base. And I did this review.
You love leveling bases.
I love them. I use them all the time in the studio. Now, on some heads, you have a video head. You usually have this leveling base under the tripod, and some of the new ones have like the YC Onion that we recently use, and I think another one that we will talk about. This is not exactly a video head. It's like travel tripod thing, but some of the new ones have this mechanism. I'm not sure how you would call it. You basically open it with a twist lock, and you can play with the head, like level it and then lock it, and it's really convenient, much more than the
having to reach under.
Yeah, I hate this. But anyway, the point is this.
Reaching under actually is not such a big deal, but the fact that you're bending down makes it then hard to manipulate your setup, and it's very awkward, and it
especially
tends
with
to just go back
very
and
heavy
forth.
cameras.
Right.
We are using here like A7R5, A1, A7 IV, these type of like mirrorless cameras. If you're using like an FX6 or even a bigger camera, it
gets dangerous at that point.
Playing
it's too dangerous.
Yeah, you need another person just to hold the camera.
Right.
Yeah, no. So that's the new system is cool, but that's not the point. The point is that leveling base is very important when you don't have these kind of mechanisms, especially on stills heads, and if you're using them on sliders or on jibs or on anything else that doesn't have this mechanism.
Right.
So leveling bases, they're not a new thing. There have been leveling bases for years, but the problem that I found is that in many of them the open and lock mechanism is very cumbersome, and you sometimes need to apply a lot of force to open and close it, and sometimes it doesn't close all that well, and then you still have some movement, and the carrying capacity is not exactly what it states like the company states it is. They have all sorts of issues. So finding a good one for a decent price is not very easy. And Sunwayfoto has very high quality of machining. I really like that company for that. So what I liked about this tripod, this leveling base, not tripod, is that it really does what it's supposed to do. You open it, it has this lock. It's very easy to operate. You open it, you lock it, and it's completely locked. It's easy to lock it, and it doesn't sag afterwards. Really good build quality and operation. The only small issue, I'm not sure if small, it's the only issue that I found is that, first of all, there are two issues. One, that for whatever reason, they included a 1/4" 20 screw on the top instead of a 3/8, which is like, why on earth did you do that? Because all heads, you're supposed to connect the head to that.
Do you think it has something to do with the weight that it's
No.
rated for? Like it's only for lightweight situations?
The only thing I can think of is that they decided to do this so you will, maybe in the box, we got it almost a year ago, so we've been using it for a long time here in the studio, especially on our big studio stand, like tripods, like it's called salon stand. We have a combo salon stand, so that's a big one. So I'm thinking we might have got it with a 3/8 adapter, which is how we actually use it, but I don't remember if it came with that or not. But if it didn't, then you can adapt it and it's fine. The second thing that is more problematic is that it doesn't have like locking pins to the head that you place on it. A lot of bases, basically, or tripods, have these sort of sideways locking pins which prevent the head from spinning. Now, if you connect to this, for example, a fluid head, and you do a pen, you can accidentally unscrew the whole thing. But if you have locking pins, it won't screw. I told them this. Maybe in the next version they will add it. I don't know. They have a couple of versions of this. I think one of them has also like a pen mode, which is like allows you to do pen shots with degrees. So that's kind of nice. That's not the version that we got, but it does have a leveling a bubbling level. So that's cool.
It should.
Yeah, it should. So that's the reviews, and on the next one we'll have more up-to-date reviews. So let's talk about some cameras. And there were a lot of camera announcements in the past, I would say 2 months or so, months and a half since we did the last one. So the first one is the Canon C400. So that's a very interesting, I would say.
How long has it been since they've had a new release in this line?
A while.
The last one is the C200, or is it a higher number?
I don't know if there's a 300 Mark II or 3 or whatever. I don't remember, honestly. But regardless, the new C400 has a new body, BSI 6K. I'm reading the specs, so a new body, BSI 6K full frame sensor with up to 60p, up to 60 frames per second in 6K, 12-bit. RAW, so that's cinema RAW. So that's really cool. And if you're shooting 4K, it's 120. If you're shooting 2K, it's 180. So that's pretty impressive.
I've been wondering about 12-bit because all I know is the comparison between 8 and 10.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that Nikon, I think, has gone into the 12-bit territory also.
I'm thinking that
Is
if
this
I'm
more
not
for
mistaken,
photos or
no. Yeah, first of all, the photos are usually, I think, 14-bit, and they're even like medium format with 16-bit.
okay.
So
So this is a video thing,
yeah, that's a video thing.
right?
They are all, as far as I can understand, like color, obviously range sort of things. I'm thinking that 12-bit is only for raw video. I think. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm wrong, but
because we're getting into the quintillions of colors at this point.
I'm
because
not
10-bit
sure
was-
what the importance of this, but maybe a colorist can tell me. I don't
Maybe.
know. If there are any colorists in the audience, write to me below. What's the difference between?
Yeah, I'd love to know.
Yeah. So anyway, more new features. So it has the next generation of Canon's dual pixel CMOS autofocus and dual pixel autofocus 2 anamorphic options. It has some anamorphic built-in options. It has an RF mount, which is different than some of the previous C cameras. I'm not sure if this is the first one with RF. I don't think so. Maybe I don't recall. But we're not Canon shooters, although we work with Canon and shoot sometimes with Canon gear. But
I started with Canon. They were nice to start with. But then I couldn't afford them pretty quickly after a while.
That's a different issue. But regardless, so it's an RF mount. It has it's very optimized for live and broadcast shooting. So it has also features for that. And maybe for a lot of people, I think one of the big things here is the price, which is 8K. I'm thinking that it's relatively affordable for what you're getting here. Again, there are a lot of options. So I'm guessing that this will at some point compete with,
what does this compete with Sony?
For Sony, probably the next FX6 camera. I'm guessing. So that's my guess, but I'm not sure if they will sit exactly on the same niche, because I think that this is very like if they're emphasizing like the live and broadcast aspects of this. I'm not sure if the Sony really, at least the existing one, sits on the same place. But who knows what the next FX6 Mark II will bring? I know. We'll have to see. So Canon has a few other things, interesting things that they announced. They have a 35mm RF 1.4L lens, which is interesting. It's much sharper. I've seen reviews comparing it to the previous EF version, which is old. And it's much, much sharper, but that's not probably very surprising. It costs $1,500. So I think I wouldn't call it affordable, but it's like okay-ish. I know. Maybe other people, it's probably more expensive than the EF version.
If Sony has a lens like that, I would imagine it would be at least $1,500.
I'll write it. First of all, they have one, but I don't remember the cost now. I'll write it on the screen. So that's one lens. The second lens is really bizarre, and it's called the Canon VR 180 dual fisheye lens.
Right.
And it's a VR lens. Now they already have one, and I think the previous one I think was a full frame. This is an APS-C. Right. And it's specifically tailored, or at least at the moment, it's specifically designed to work with the R7.
Right.
I'm not sure, what's special about the R7 compared to the R10 compared to the other camera.
I think the APS-C route is simply going to make working with large files easier. Smaller sensor.
Okay.
Smaller file.
No, but why not the R10?
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Me neither.
Oh, why? This is only going to work with the
Yeah,
R7
for the
and
moment,
not-
or at least when it was announced, only the R7. Maybe something changed since
I don't
then.
know enough about the differences between those cameras. What might be
The
different?
R7 is a slightly higher and more advanced APS-C camera.
Maybe the processor.
The
is
whole thing, it
what's
has more
different.
features. Everything is more advanced. The R10 is a less expensive, whatever.
I usually think of the compatibility of the mount. The mount
No.
is not
The mount
issue.
is the same. They're all APS-C. You have the R7, then the R10, then the R50, then the R100. The larger the number, the less
Okay.
advanced it is. Whatever.
So maybe it's a processing issue with their processor. If the R10 is older, maybe the processor cannot handle.
No. The R7 and 10 were announced at the same time. But
Oh.
yeah, maybe it's the processor is more. I don't know,
Yeah.
more capable.
Interesting.
Anyway, so what's interesting about this? So we said it's an APS-C lens. It's actually it's one big lens with two smaller
Right.
fisheye
It
lenses.
looks like little eyes are looking at you.
Yeah. For like night vision, sort
Right.
of futuristic night
Yeah.
vision thing. Both of them are 5.2 millimeter lenses. So it's like super wide.
Super wide.
I mean, if you think about it, it's 5.2 millimeter on APS-C. So it's like the equivalent of like what? I don't know, 1.6, so like between 7 millimeter and 8 millimeter, something like that. Still very wide. So that's that, and it cost about $2,000. I don't know how to compare it to anything because there are not a lot of options in this category. So it is what it is. If you're interested in that, then that's an option. We will talk about VR, interesting VR things a little bit later in this LensVid Talk. Okay, so that's Canon. Let's talk about Nikon. And Nikon fairly recently, had the Z or Z or whatever you want to call it, Z6 Mark III.
Mm-hmm.
And this, on paper, and this is, again, on paper, it has a ton of features. So I'll go over some of them. It has a 24.5 megapixel sensor, partially stacked sensor. So that's kind of strange. I'm not sure. The partially is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The new Speed 7 processor. It shoots 6K 60p and RAW. So on paper, it shoots the same resolution in RAW as the C400, which cost about 3 times as much.
Right.
So that's almost 4 times as much.
Right.
So that's interesting. But again, there
Not
is
many-
on paper and there is actual.
Right. Not many full frame cameras are shooting over 30, right? In RAW or in.
Over 30, a lot, but
Yeah?
6K, not that many.
Right. Not
Yeah.
in 6K. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So 6K 60p at RAW and RAW, Nikon RAW. It has a brighter EVF, articulated screen, 120 frames per second, full JPEGs, and it costs around $2,500, which is, for what you're getting, again, on paper is great.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I read some reviews, and I think that this is the advantage. This was announced quite a few weeks ago. The advantage of us doing this now instead of more or less the day that it was announced is that you already have people using it. So it's not just the reviews that are just a moment after the announcement, which
Right.
are usually like
Just
all
based
very
on the specs.
Yeah, and it's not just based on specs, but a lot of them are super positive because they don't have a lot of time to actually test the camera. If you have a week to test the camera, how much can you, or a few days,
Not enough
how
time
much
for
can you
something to go
stress?
wrong.
Yeah, and how much time do you really have to nitpick on all the difficulties? Not to mention, some people, if you get the camera, you want to say that it's good. So, let's put this aside, even just the time that you have to actually test the camera. So I was looking at user reviews, people who actually bought the camera and wrote about it on B&H and Amazon and other places. And it seems that some people are complaining on a few things. First of all, that for whatever reason, Nikon decided not to include a charger in the kit. I'm not sure what I know. Like, they would probably say that it's environmental and people are saving and it saves on cost and shipping and recycle, whatever. I know. It is what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
So just know that you're probably not going to get a charger.
But I wonder if then when you do have to go and buy one, Do you have to buy theirs, or are third-party ones available?
No, no, of course they are available. No.
Okay, good.
Sometimes the problem is usually with the batteries. If you're buying a third-party battery, that sometimes you have issues with the
Right.
battery on the, but not with the charger. Usually not with the charger.
Okay.
So that's fine. But
I'm being paranoid.
no. So that was one thing, but probably not the biggest one. The biggest complaint that I've seen is that autofocus was not as good, at least at the beginning with the early firmware. Like it was either front focusing or something like that, or back focusing on the eye, especially. Like the focus is faster and everything, but the accuracy is not there. And some people complained about the noise that they're getting at slightly higher ISOs. I'm not sure. Again, we didn't test it, so I can't say anything about this, but these are a few things that I heard about this. Let's move to Panasonic.
Yeah.
And Panasonic had recently announced the GH7.
Talk about impressive specs.
Wow, that camera really, we're talking 25 megapixel micro four thirds. Again, if somebody said that it's dead, then from Panasonic's perspective,
Apparently
it's not. Yeah. 5.7K RAW, better dynamic range than the GH5, better autofocus, 75 frames per second in single autofocus. I'm not sure if it's, we're talking stills, I'm not
Right.
sure if it's
JPEG
JPEG
or
RAW or whatever. ProRes RAW internal. And to me, the most interesting new aspect of this camera is internal 32-bit float recording, which is, again, I'm not sure if it's good or bad, but the fact that somebody
That's my dream.
Yeah, for the first time including it in camera, that's great.
It's one less thing you got to bring with you. It's awesome.
And besides that, it has real-time LUTs, which I think should come with all cameras nowadays, but they don't. And of course, the thing that all Panasonic cameras, and I don't know what's up with this Olympus or whatever the new company's name is called, is known for, and that's IBIS, because Micro Four Thirds is a small sensor. The IBIS is better, so 7.5 stops, and you can shoot open gate, which means that you can play with the aspect ratios as much as you want. So that's pretty cool.
I think I also noticed that it has a high-res picture function
Oh,
where
okay.
it takes the...
For stills.
Yeah, and it depends on how many different pictures are in the
like
picture.
usually, yeah.
But I think once you go above a certain amount, you can take a 99 or 100 megapixel picture. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's not new, but it's cool that they're bringing it to here.
Right.
Do you remember looking at the price? Because I didn't write it down.
No.
No. Okay, I'll write it on the screen, the price of the camera. I'm guessing somewhere around 2.5K.
Right.
Probably. So that's the new Panasonic GH7. Now something from Sony. So we can't compromise one company. So they now have the ZV-E 10 Mark II. And a new kit lens, which is a new version of the 16 to 50 kit lens. So on paper, this is basically like a more affordable FX30, which is
Right.
cool, but...
A lot more affordable. It's almost half the price.
Oh,
Right?
really? Wow.
I think it was around 1,000, and then FX30 is what, like 17 or 1,600?
No, this is around 1,000, really?
No, maybe I'm wrong.
No.
I think it was considerably
less. Oh, I'll write it on the
Yeah.
screen, the difference. But what do you remember other features? I think that you saw some reviews and there was some talk about overheating, right?
Yeah, I mean, I watched the Gerald Undone overheating tests on it, and it looked like it did fairly well in a studio setting. But as soon as you
Took it
have
outside?
it in light or even in an environment where there isn't air circulating, it will. It's a tight body. It's a tight package.
Yeah. No, the advantage of the FX30 and 3 is that they have an internal fan or whatever, like cooling system, which is, so that's the ZV-E or ZV-E or whatever you want to call it, 10 Mark II. And pricing again was on the screen. So let's talk lenses. And Sigma has a really interesting one. This is the 28 to 45 full frame f1.8. So the way that I'm looking, I've looked at this this lens. It's very, very sharp. I've seen a lot of criticism from people looking at this lens and saying, you know, why do I need this? This is like a really short zoom range, 24 to 45. It's like, what are you doing? It's not very wide, and it's not like even 50. Right. That's true. Maybe I would prefer like 24 to 40 instead of if it was possible. But regardless, what you should think about when you're looking at this lens is that this is basically, I would say, a bunch of prime lenses squished into one. So it's f1.8, so it's not f1.4, but it's still pretty fast. It's much faster than any other like regular f2.8 zoom lens. And it's a very, very sharp lens. So it's very sharp 28, it's very sharp 35, and it's a very sharp 45. So it's not 50 and it's not 24, but on all the other like focal lengths, you have a very sharp fast lens. So it's really interesting. I think it's kind of big and fairly expensive. Again, I didn't write the pricing. I'll write it on the screen, but it's cool.
Focuses internally.
Yeah.
Right.
But again, pretty chunky lens,
right.
if I remember correctly.
Right.
So yeah. Let's talk. So that was lenses. On the next LensVid Talk, we have a lot more lenses. So if you're interested in lenses, stay tuned next week. But let's talk about some interesting thing from Sony, which is not a product, but an update. And I'll just say what it is, and then I'll say some background about what I'm thinking. So basically, Sony has announced a major update to their monitor and control app, which currently supports only the Burano FX6, FX3, FX30, the A1, A9 III. I didn't know that the A9 III was supported, and the A7S III. And this specific update is only for the basically iPad iOS. Is it just for iPad or for like? Do you remember?
I thought it says only iPad.
I'm not sure.
OS.
Maybe I'm mistaken. If it's just for iPad or for iOS in general.
Right.
Regardless, it's not for other Sony cameras. So the A7 IV, the A7R5, ZV-E, whatever doesn't work with this. Just these cameras and just Apple products, or maybe even just iPad. I'm not sure. And what it gives you is the ability to monitor and I think control several cameras from this line, from this list at the same time.
Right.
Now, last year, I'm not sure if this was on record or just me talking to Sony about this. On IBC, I suggested this to Sony. So I came to them and I said, you know, we're shooting a lot of podcasts. A lot of people are shooting podcasts with a lot of cameras, Sony cameras. We want an option to shoot with multiple cameras and control them from, you know, one app.
Right.
So they told me, you know, wait, it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Am I really pleased with what they have done? Honestly, I don't know. First of all, on paper, no, because it's not supporting the cameras that we have and probably a lot of other people. But even if it did, it's not supporting. We are using Android, so I'm not sure what they're doing here. I can say, and I'll probably be talking to Sony about this on IBC, but I have some thoughts about this, so stay tuned for that. You know, it's might be coming. It will take time, but you know, something might be coming. But I want to see an actual. I want to see this in action. So maybe in IBC they will have like a stand where they're showing how this works, and we can shoot a video about, you know, how this really works in practice. So this is everything I can say about this because I didn't try it.
It's got to be a way to do multicam recording easily, and it's
Yeah. Currently, it's, as far as I can tell, there is no way of controlling multiple cameras, like starting, stopping them, changing settings. There is no way of doing this. And again, we're shooting 3 cameras here. We need to start each one of them manually.
It shouldn't be hard for them to come out with a wired option, though, for all existing camera models. That should at least be available to us peons at the bottom here who still have our...
In a month, if the gods will allow us, we will be in IBC, and you can suggest this to Sony and we will see their reaction. But
just give me something basic that works.
Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about some other interesting things. And this is also, well, I'm not sure if this is software, hardware, or both. Probably both. So this is a collaboration or partnership between Apple and Blackmagic. That's interesting. I always assumed that the collaboration would be between Apple and Canon, but actually Blackmagic got the.
Well, there is a collaboration, but not this particular.
Yeah, exactly. So this one, I didn't say what the collaboration is. So this is around 3D shooting, basically.
Right.
And I'm assuming.
Or 360 shooting. Is it 360 or 3D? Oh, spatial video. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
The way
I get confused between the two.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking that this is 3D. Yeah, I know. The thing is that I'm thinking that this is specifically designed to work with the
Oculus or the Apple Vision Pro, right?
And to shoot for that, you actually need super, super high resolution. We're talking 16K. I think this is the number that Apple gave.
Wow.
And that's insane. Nobody has this type of camera
and
aside
then that
from
creates workflow problems too.
I can't even
File
begin to
sizes.
imagine how complex this is. The only camera company that so far announced any 16K like widely available commercial camera is Blackmagic. It's not yet available, but they announced it, I think, in NAB.
Right.
So probably that's the reason why Apple went with them and not Canon. Doesn't have anything that even close to that, not even 10K. So yeah, that's interesting. I don't have a lot of info about that, but if you're interested, we'll have a link for the partnership press release, and you can try and figure out what they're trying to do there. Westcott has two new products that were announced fairly recently. One of them is a light, which is the L120-B. So it's 120 bicolor light. The interesting thing about this is that it's kind of strong on paper, almost 2,400, 1,000 locks in 1 meter. So it's pretty strong for a 120 bicolor light. And it has like a silent fan mode for 30%, something like that. Some lights have this. Some, I think, even go up to almost 50% it's silent, or I don't know. But yeah, that's cool. I'm not sure if we'll have a chance to test it, but it's a cool light. But to me, the more interesting thing is what they announced fairly recently, from the time that we're recording this, and it's called the Easy Boom 26-inch. Basically, it's a boom, so it's basically allowing you to hold your light further away from your light stand, overhead or on the top behind somebody or in front of somebody. We use them. We have a combo boom here in the studio, which we use all the time. It's fantastic, but it has some issues, and it seems that Westcott, at least one of them, they really solved, which is the issue that when you take off the light and replace it with another light, or just take it off, the boom itself just jumps up because the way
there's no way to lock it in place so
on
that
ours,
it's just fixed.
No, it's completely stupid.
It's like a scale, like a measuring scale almost.
Yeah, and when you lift something and you have
a seesaw,
exactly, and just jumps up. It's completely ludicrous design by Combo. It's a very expensive boom. This one cost like $600, $800. I don't remember. The new boom from Westcott does have a lock. It has a few other interesting features. We should get it for a review. I talked to Westcott about that. It's shorter than the one we have. Actually, the one we have is short, but we had an extension, and the Westcott doesn't. But it does have the lock, and it has the option to put weights on the back, which is also cool, and it's much cheaper. It's like $300, which is really cool. So I'm really hoping that they will come up with a longer version, but I'm also keen to actually test the one that they currently have.
Do you think it'll be big enough to still support overhead lighting the way this one does? Will it be able to reach out quite that far? I guess if you're diffuser is not as big as yours.
Exactly.
A little
That's
smaller.
that's
You have a
probably going to
massive
be the question.
diffuser
If
on
you're
there.
using like a really large diffuser, then it will get stuck on the light
Right,
stand.
right.
This is why I like the combo, which you can replace the front part. They have a couple of versions. So they have a really big one, which has a
So you
long,
can extend it.
but the big one is like big in the back, and it's like it takes like half of our studio, which is big. I don't want that. So I got the short one, but with the extension. So I have a long front part and a short back part. So the whole thing is not very long, but it's long enough to place like a fairly big softbox. The boom version of the Westcott is not long enough. I don't know. Maybe they will come up with an extension somehow. I suggested it to them. I'm not sure. So that's the Westcott boom. And again, it's like $300, so it's not really expensive. So that's Westcott. Let's talk about a different product, which is on Kickstarter. Again, I'm not sure if by the time this is live, it will still be on Kickstarter, but it was at least. It's called, it's made in Sweden by a Swedish guy. I talked to him, really nice. It's called the LIT DUO 1. And again, it's available for sort of pre-order or whatever, Kickstarter backing. In Kickstarter, it costs like around 500 euros, probably around the same in dollars. And it's basically light meter, or it's similar to our Sekonic colorimeter. So we use the C800 for almost everything here in the studio to check like the color temperature, the color, the light intensity, the lux, all sorts of other CRI and TLCI and whatever, all the light things that we usually check. So this is sort of similar, but the big thing is that this is about third the price of the other one. And from what I understand, the interface is nicer. It's much more modern. The C800, I mean, it's a cool device. It's very, very useful, but it has so many annoying things. Like it's slow to turn on. The touchscreen is really annoying.
I wonder if in this generation, because this is like a whole generation or two later, you'll be able to just wirelessly send the output, like the results,
I didn't look at all the specs.
through your network
maybe,
instead of having to plug in the device.
Exactly. I talked to them, and what I would like to see, I'm not sure what they're working on, but what I would like to see is like a really inexpensive unit, which is just a Bluetooth with a sensor that will work with your phone. That will be the ideal solution, like inexpensive Bluetooth and small sensor that you can place anywhere. It doesn't cost much, a couple of $100 or something. Anybody will be able to get it. It should work. I'm not sure how easy it is to make, but it should work both for video and stills, so for flashes. Again, this one I think work only for video, like constant lighting. I think, I'm not sure. I'll write it on the screen. I'm not 100% sure, but I would like something that will work both for stills and video, and will broadcast all the results to your smartphone. You can put them to the computer, to an Excel, to whatever you want, and save them and do everything that you want from them. But it will be cheap, like really cheap, and then I can recommend it to everybody. Because this is, I don't know, you started using it once you started working with us.
It's prohibitively priced usually.
The C800 is $1,600.
Right.
I can't recommend it to a lot of people.
Right.
Like if you're a gaffer, sure, buy it. If you're like shooting for Hollywood and you don't have a gaffer, I don't know who doesn't, but let's say that you're shooting film and you're somehow a solo shooter, buy one. But if you're just shooting commercially, and it's very hard to justify this expense. Right. It's super useful, but it's super expensive.
Right.
And if you have a like $200 unit or $250 or whatever, that is small, simple, you can throw it in your bag and it will just work. You know, that's an easy sell.
No brainer.
So this one is cheaper, but not as cheap as I would like it to be. That's a point. Let's talk about finally two Hollyland. We were talking about Hollywood. Two Hollyland products, and the first one is Hollyland Pyro 7-inch. Now, I don't know if you remember, this was last year before we started working with us. We tested, or actually Art tested, the Hollyland M1, which was a 5-inch wireless monitor that worked with the previous generation of wireless Hollyland transmitters. It worked very well. They even came up with an updated version, which was, we didn't test it, we just saw it in IBC last year. It was nice. We still have it. We worked with it. We actually worked with it on a Canon production. We said that we worked with Canon for on a couple of commercial videos. One of them we actually used that and it worked fantastically well. But 5-inch is small. It's like an on-camera thing. If you want a monitor that you can, I'm not sure how good it is for focus pullers, but you can certainly give it to if you're a shooter and you want to give it to the director, you can, like a director monitor. That's cool. For another person in the crew, you can give it to. That's fantastic, and it works with the new power system. The new one, if you remember, has 2 channels. The old one was different. It's not backward compatible, and it's not very expensive. You can buy 2 of them for about $1,000,
Wow.
or one for, I don't remember, if 5 something or 600, but not too much. It's not super expensive. And it has an internal recording. Now, this is something I wanted to talk about. Internal recording on a lot of the new monitors is a feature, but it's not the internal recording that you're thinking about. It's not like an Atomos. It's not like high quality, raw internal recording. It's like more of like a backup, just so you can see like low bitrate, 8-bit.
Helps you sync. Maybe if you want to do that.
You could use it maybe for like if you want like really quick, what you may call it,
Dailies or proxy.
proxies. Yeah, exactly. So you can use it for proxies maybe. If you can sync it 1-to-1 with the camera, I'm not sure, but maybe that is a good use. Or if you just want to record and then play on the monitor itself instead of from the camera for some reason, you can do that. But I'm not sure what it's good for. I would like to see actual ProRes, or I think I mentioned this before, AV1. We talked about AV1 in one of the previous LensVid talks.
I don't know.
AV1 is a fairly, I wouldn't call it new, but newer protocol that Google and some other companies are promoting. It's very compressed, but it's very high quality. So it's at least as good as ProRes, if not better. But ProRes is like really large files,
right,
and AV1 is not. And the best part, ProRes is proprietary. You need license for that.
Right.
AV1 is open. Everybody can use it.
Wow.
The problem is, I think that at the moment, Premiere doesn't support it. I think that DaVinci, which you use, does support it, at least to an extent. I'm not sure why Premiere doesn't. If we talk to Adobe on IBC, a question for them is going to be, what's up with AV1 support, which I really want to see. But yeah, that's something that I want to see in more monitors, like AV1 recorders, higher bitrate, raw, whatever, high quality recording. And the last one and the second Hollyland product and the final one in this talk is the VenusLiv version 2. And that's another product that we saw in IBC. Don't remember if it was last year or the year before. It's basically, think about it as like a small camcorder sort of thingy, but like not super big sensor, non-interchangeable lens. So it's a zoom lens, but fixed one. But the thing is that it has a pretty big screen, which is usually vertical. So it's kind of, designed to shoot vertical. You can shoot, I think, horizontal as well, but you can shoot.
I saw little devices like these out almost like 15 years ago.
No, you're talking about camcorder. Sure, you're talking.
Yeah, handheld
camcorders.
Vertical, yeah.
This one is specifically designed for live shots or live videos, basically. Right. So if you want to do a live and you don't want a fancy, super expensive camera lens combo, but you want something that's really easy to monitor and connect and work with, that can be one. And it's they're marketing this as a live shopping camera. Not do you know what live shopping is?
I'm not aware of that pastime.
Yeah.
I wonder if you are the shopper, or is this more of a
No, I'm guessing you're
Selling
selling something.
selling products on TV.
I'm guessing. You know, let's say I'm on Etsy or on Amazon or whatever. I have a store and I want to do a video showing, this is the new product, whatever.
right?
Something like that.
Something simple to set
Yeah,
up.
so it's a nice simple setup. It has some improvements, mostly I think in software compared to the previous generation. Not sure what all the improvements are. I think it has built-in Wi-Fi, and I think it's like more, I don't know. But again, we'll have link to all the specs and the article, so you can read it. So I think that's everything. There were a lot of topics. We covered a lot of things. And make sure to follow us. Don't forget to obviously subscribe and follow us. You can check out all the topics that we discussed on the full article on LensVid. Thank you, Lou.
All right.
And we'll see you in the next LensVid Talk and with the next videos. See you next time. Bye.